Deadlock in the Gulf now and how it could play out with Patrick Henningsen in London. He's associate editor at Infowars.com. Hi there, Patrick. I mean, looking at the background, standing back from this, Tehran made its threat to block the Strait while at the same time performing these large-scale military exercises it's been carrying out. Is it A, a provocation, or B, something proportionate in response to threats of sanctions? What do you think?
Well, Tehran's military exercises are well within its rights as a sovereign nation. It's taking place within their territorial waters and also within the international waters bordering Iranian territory. So this isn't anything that's against international law. And certainly with the rhetoric that's been coming out of Washington, that's been coming out of Whitehall in the last 6 months or even in the last few years, Iran is well within their rights to shore up their national defenses. I see it not as a provocation. The U.S. will use the word provocation in order to spin the discussion and to skew it into a Hegelian dialectic, which they do quite regularly in order to portray Iran as the evil person in this story.
Our correspondent said just now, and it's been mentioned as well over the last couple of days, that Washington is considering Iran's threat a bluff here. Do you think it is safe to assume that this won't go past words, or is that a dangerous game?
Well, one thing I can say for sure is if an incident did take place and a conflagration began or some sort of conflict began, the U.S. and the European bloc will obviously blame it on Iran. But if we look at the long range of this story, how it begun and where it is now, the IEA has no evidence that Iran is working on a military nuclear program. They have yet to produce anything to show that they're involved in weapons of mass destruction. So, look, Iran is simply playing this game in a defensive position, okay? But we know who to blame. If the war does kick off, you can blame the U.S. and you can blame Israel because they are trying to isolate Iran and push them into an economic depression situation where they can't export the number one product that's developed out of their nation. It's absolutely horrendous.
Well, as far as sanctions are concerned, Iran is, of course, a major oil producer. That's what you're talking about there. The market's reaction to an embargo, of course, will be huge. Isn't the West shooting itself in the foot here, then?
Well, look, there's three players in this little game here, okay? On one side you have Israel, okay, which is joined at the hip to the U.S. Congress and the U.S. Senate. So Israel has its agenda. On the other side, you have the oil producers and the oil retailers, okay? I'm talking about Saudi Arabia and the other Gulf states, and I'm also talking about Unocal, Exxon, British Petroleum, and these companies that actually take and deliver the oil from the Arab states, okay? If this goes to blows with Iran, it's going to mean a spike in the price of oil. And the oil companies are absolutely drooling at the prospect of setting a new standard around $100 a barrel or maybe 120 as a new benchmark for oil. This is good news for the Saudis because it's making money overnight, and it's good news for the oil companies because even if this conflict calms down, they will maintain the price at the pump at a much higher level in proportion to what it should be from the price of the barrel to the price to the pump. It's a win-win situation.
Over the threat of the drama, gotcha. I mean, which side, in your opinion, should make concessions first here? I kind of know what your answer is going to be, but if a diplomatic solution is to be found out of this deadlock, who should blink first?
Well, look, the United States, Britain, France, and all these coalition NATO countries, right? They're always talking about diplomacy and democracy. Okay, no one has actually seriously followed up on the UN, from the UN to the U.S., has seriously followed up on the Russian plan, which was to take the enriched uranium from Iran, process it, and then deliver it back via Russia, okay? No one's ever followed up on this because it's actually a good solution, okay? Any real diplomatic solutions, you're not going to see. That plan, of course,
meant that none could go missing to be used, developed into a bomb. That was the whole point, wasn't it?
Absolutely, absolutely.
All right.
I mean, look,
Sorry, Patrick, I stopped you there in full flow. Have you got anything more to say? Please do.
Yeah, you look, the whole thing is, we're coming into an election year, okay? 2012 is an election cycle in the United States. So the game that you're going to see played, which is exactly the game you saw in 2008, which was, if the price of oil rises, then those people, mainstream candidates like Obama or Hillary Clinton, who's likely to be a vice presidential running mate for Obama in 2012, and on the Republican side, they're going to say, look, we can't rely on Middle Eastern oil now. That's why your oil is so expensive. We need to lift domestic drilling moratoriums to drill within the United States and on the U.S. coasts. So this is part of a longer game you're going to see. And also the Sinai Peninsula is going to be a big target for Israel, because right now you have potential destabilization in Egypt. Israel's had its eye on the Sinai ever since they lost it 30 years ago. So you have the Suez, the Horn of Africa, and the Straits of Hormuz. Those 3 points are the key crucial points in the geopolitical game that we're looking at right now.
Patrick Edison, thanks ever so much for your thoughts. Associate Editor at Infowars.com, joining us on the line there from London. Appreciate it. Now on our website,